It's a Monday here on the first day of October in the Lord's year 2012. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is the Monday edition of The View from a Pew on 99.3 KTIA. And it's Recovery Monday, but I don't have Joe Mintz with me today. Instead, I have Hugh Grady, who is a recovery specialist. Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, is also with us, and so we're going to be talking to Hugh today about folks that are in recovery. And I've said this before when we do Recovery Mondays. If you're an addict or an alcoholic, and 10% of you listening are, maybe higher, no, I may not be talking to you particularly. I'm just saying as a group in society, 10% plus people are alcoholics or addicts. But these shows are really done to help you, the family member, you, the boss, you, the sibling, you, the father, the mother, the brother, the uncle, the niece, the nephew, the son, who are involved in a relationship with someone who is abusing drugs or alcohol. Now, it might be just as simple as a low-bottom drunk. It might be something as sophisticated as someone who's injecting heroin or other drugs. It might be as naive as someone who's simply abusing prescription drugs. They're getting them legally. They're getting them from at least one doctor. Maybe they're doctor shopping, which that's not right. You shouldn't do that. But perhaps on prescriptions, and this is one of the highest increases of drug abuse in our country. It is not marijuana. It is not meth. It is prescription drugs. And so today we want to help you kind of understand what that addict and what that alcoholic looks like, what their actions look like, and maybe help you identify someone in your family. Now, I will warn you. You're going to hear some things you don't want to hear. Chances are, if you're close to this person, you may be a codependent. You may be helping them be in the midst of this addiction. Now, you say, well, how can I help them? I preach to them all the time. Don't come home drunk. If you're going to come home drunk, you're not going to live in my house. Well, they keep coming home, don't they? And you keep letting them in, right? Yeah, you're codependent. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We welcome you, and we are live on 99.3 KTIA. Phone lines are open at 1-855-244-0077, and Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, is watching the chat. And Robert, make sure you chime in when anybody's got any questions on this today.
Yes, I can do that.
Okay. Hugh, how are you?
I'm great, Mac.
That's my phone.
Oh, okay.
I'm the host, and I forgot to turn off my phone.
Well, I'm great, as I said, and I thank you for asking me to come and be with you today.
Well, you are a highly respected member of the recovery community here in town. There are a lot of people who, including myself, who seek you out when there are times of trouble, not only for ourselves, but for other people in our family that we love. And I don't know what the numbers are, and the numbers aren't important, but you've been in the middle of a lot of people's recovery.
Oh, thank you.
How long have you been in recovery?
I've been in recovery 24 plus years.
24 plus.
Yep.
So, wow, you're about to get your 25-year chip.
God willing, I will get it.
When's your birthday?
June 16th.
June. So we got a little more than a little less than a year.
9 more months.
Okay. You want me to tell you how many days that is?
That's okay. I have it on my iPhone.
Oh, there you go.
So you get little badges or something like that? Or?
We get here. I got mine in my pocket. You get chips.
See, I don't know anything about that.
That's all right.
In
the beginning, you get
It's a very important thing.
In the beginning, you get a 24-hour chip, and then you get a 1 month through 11 months, and then you get a 1 year, and then you get each year after that. And those are very important. Those are those would be like a Purple Heart to a soldier, right?
I think that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, they are very important, and they're not important for the person who receives it. They're important for people who are newer in recovery and see that if, for example, they may have 3 or 6 months and they see someone get a chip for a year, then that gives them encouragement to go a year and so forth.
So are you encouraged to carry those with you as a reminder to have them in your
that's
pocket?
a personal choice.
Yeah, I always carry mine. And here's an idea. The other day I was at Hy-Vee, and in my right pocket I always carry a pen and my chip. No significance to each other. But so I was looking in my pocket to get my pen out, and I pulled my hand out, and there in my hand was my chip and was my pen. And the lady at the counter at Hy-Vee said, "Oh, I just got my 3-year."
Oh, yeah. Sure.
So there's a bonding there. But I went to a meeting Saturday, and a guy got his 38th chip, 38 years chip. And what's interesting about that is Mike B., he went through 11. Is that right? Do you know? I think he went through 11 treatments.
11 treatments.
Yeah, before it finally stuck.
That's the reason why we encourage people to never, ever give up.
Yeah, turn that mic up a little bit of his, would you, please? Yeah, never give up. And one of the interesting things about a recovery program is that I found is that you are always welcome back.
That's absolutely true.
Always welcome back. But yet, what I have found, if you go out and go back out and do some research, as they like to call it, don't call anybody in the program. I'm not willing to deal with you when you're drunk or using or whatever. When you've sobered up or when you quit and you can listen to common sense, right?
Well, I get, in my work, I get calls, and I sometimes get calls from people who are intoxicated. And I talk to them, but I just talk a little bit to them and encourage them to give me their phone number or call me back tomorrow, because you cannot reason with an intoxicated person.
No, you can't.
You cannot.
No.
Now, Mac, I wanted to bring you back to when you go out and do research. What does that mean?
That means you fell off the wagon.
Okay, see, now I'm new to this.
That's all right.
I need to understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think the term when you and I grew up was, well, so-and-so fell off the wagon.
Right, that I understand.
Where does that even come from? Do you know where that term
I
comes
have
from?
no idea where that comes from.
Within the program, one of the terms is, and there's probably other terms, but the one I hear most commonly is, well, I was in the program actively for a couple of years, then I went out to do some more research. And then I came back in the program a year later.
I'm thinking of wagon, like hay wagon. Don't people do a lot of
Well,
drinking on the
they
hay
used
wagon?
they used to carry casks of liquor, and I don't know if that's where it originated or not. I really don't know the derivation of the term.
Yeah, I don't either.
But what Max says is true. We call it going out and doing further research.
Yeah.
And in some 12-step recovery programs, that's also spoken about in the literature of those programs about if a person doesn't think that they've had enough or doesn't really believe they have a problem with alcohol or drugs, then perhaps you should go out and try it again and see how
that works for you. Yeah. Hugh Grady is my guest today. He is a recovery specialist. Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, watching the chat. And but you're exactly right about these chips. Yeah, and I should have held this up so you could see it. It's just a little coin. It's brass, probably.
Brass.
And on the front it says, well, now I have to write it. To thine own self be true, recovery, unity, service, and then Roman numerals for how many years, and then on the back is the serenity prayer, which is, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, which I remember when I first put down the drink, I would go to sleep saying that.
I still say it on a very regular basis.
Yeah, I bet I say it once a day. Yeah.
I use it not necessarily daily, but when I'm frustrated or maybe a little angry about something or a person who may be frustrating me, and then I frequently say it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I even say it in 12-step meetings to myself.
Yes. Yeah, I bet. Especially when Jack's around. Yeah. Now, Bob, you're more familiar with the biological aspects of particularly alcoholism. What is it about alcohol? What does alcohol do to the brain that causes people to do such things that they would simply never do if they weren't drinking?
Well, it is a central nervous system depressant. It is a drug. And it lowers inhibition, so it's easier for you to do things you normally would maybe not do. It just makes it easier. It takes away those, it makes you feel very strong and powerful, and that you can do anything. And that's how it works on you while it's killing off brain cells.
Now, do those brain cells come back?
No, you just have a lot of them.
There's lots of extra ones, fortunately. Just kind of jumping in there a little bit. Alcohol for someone who doesn't have a problem with alcohol is something that is a relaxant, as you kind of talked about, and people who don't have a problem, who've had a tough day, frequently go home and have a drink, maybe 2 drinks. They feel relaxed, and that's all they want to have, and
Go to sleep.
and they're fine. They go to sleep.
Yeah.
But alcoholics just don't operate that way.
No. I always thought it was interesting that when I first got into the program, that I don't remember what somebody said, but somebody said something about I can't just have 1 drink, I have to have 9. And when I first heard that, 9, and then I got to thinking, yeah, that's true. The average human being, I know, Bob, you don't drink at all, and Ryan's too young to drink. Ryan, don't ever start drinking, okay, dude? I'm serious. Just don't ever pick it up. But most people have the common sense that after they've had those 1 or 2 drinks and they begin to feel a little tipsy and their language begins to slur and they stagger, they're smart enough to quit.
I've had enough.
I've had enough.
Yep.
That's something that...
Or they hand the keys over to someone
Yeah.
that is not intoxicated. And
Well,
get home that way.
And then I wonder when people really drink too much and they get sick, and I've seen a lot of people during our drinking studies get very sick, throwing up.
Yeah.
Why would anybody want to do that? I mean, that should be a negative.
well,
Well, for an alcoholic, of course, we
don't get to that?
we get tolerance. I mean, I remember when I was very young, and particularly in college, when I would drink too much, I would get sick. But as I got older, my tolerance increased, and I can remember one occasion, I think, getting sick in my 30s, and
yeah.
that's probably it.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I ever got sick. I mean, I remember once I got sick, but that was... You got to remember, I didn't start drinking until I was 34. Okay, I never drank, and that's always been a mystery to me. It's always been a mystery. I grew up in a household where alcohol was prevalent. And every night, my mom and dad would have a couple beers, and then they'd go to Ancient Age, bourbon. And I hated the smell and the taste of Ancient Age and bourbon. I don't like caramel liquors. And we always had beer. We were boaters. We'd go down to the lake every Sunday, and beer, I never liked it. Never liked it a bit. So I never got drunk. I never got sick. I never did anything. And then I turned 35 years old and had some successes in my life and decided to go into semi-retirement. And part of that retirement was hanging out at bars and clubs and restaurants that I owned. And that was it.
Yeah.
Playmates and playgrounds.
There is a lot that's known today about alcohol and its effect on people, and the genetic connection between alcoholism in families and those sorts of things. But there's also, for alcoholics, still a lot of mystery. For example,
Yeah.
that would be kind of a mystery.
Yeah.
Why did it take until you were 35? Now, I had an upbringing similar to yours, where of course I'm Irish Catholic, and come from a family that where alcohol was centered around a lot of things, and relatives and those kinds of things, and in the house, cocktails before dinner, and then after dinner, drinks and so forth. And I was allowed to drink when I was 16, and in the home. And I had no control over alcohol from the very first time I drank.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. It's Recovery Monday here on the first day of October in the Lord's year 2012. My guest is Hugh Grady. He's a recovery specialist. Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, watching the chat. If you'd like to join us, it's 1-855-244-0077. Or you can jump online to maxworldlive.com, MACSworldlive.com, or also theviewfromapew.com. And we would love to hear from you today. Maybe you've got a question. Maybe you've got a story. Maybe you'd like to have a private conversation off the air to talk to Hugh or myself or Bob. We'd love to have that conversation with you. We're coming back. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and if I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I love this job. I couldn't do it without you. Right here on 99.3 KTIA, powered by WebcastOneLive.com.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I'm administrative manager
I am the senior technician.
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me. But is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm going to take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
Come on now, let's reason together. The phone lines are open, and it's your voice we want to hear. So call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
Okay, welcome. It is the first day of October, first day of the fourth quarter, first day of a new fiscal year for a lot of folks, and it is the first day of our new quarter as we approach just, what do we got, 33 days for elections. 33 days. And then we no longer have to hear, I'm Mitt Romney, and what did they say?
I approve this.
I approve this message, yeah. Or I'm Barack Obama. I approve this message. The one I never get to hear that I really want to hear is I'm Barack Obama, and I admit I'm lying in this message, but I never hear that, so I don't know why.
Oh,
I can say that.
stab me in the heart.
Are you an Obama person?
Of course.
Oh, okay. Well, discover
does that mean
Hugh's
we're-
character defects. 1.
Does that mean we're finished?
No. Hugh Grady is my guest today. He's a recovery specialist. What'd you say, 24 years?
24 years.
24 years. And Hugh and I belong to the same 12-step program. And you have seen in your years a lot of people come in and out of that program.
I have, both in my work and as a recovering person.
What is Here's what I want to do. I want to talk to the wives or the husbands.
Okay.
I want to talk to the siblings or the or the mothers or fathers. I want to talk about those things that I want them to be aware of that would indicate that there's a challenge. There's a problem there. I don't want to say that would indicate someone's an alcoholic or a drug addict.
Okay.
But that's what it indicates. Okay, but I want to talk more about actions, because here's one thing that addicts and alcoholics do best: lie. Okay, we live in a place called denial, and that's not a river in Egypt. We know in the back of our heads we have a problem. We know that. Wouldn't you say that most addicts and alcoholics know that?
Well, you know, that's interesting, because I would say a lot do and consciously know it, and a lot don't consciously know it, but somewhere back in the recesses of their mind, they know they have a problem.
I mean,
in other words, for example, I never walked around saying, I think I'm an alcoholic. And in fact, when I was intervened on, and I am also a recovering drug addict, and my drug addiction was so bad at the time that I was intervened on that I only believed I had a drug problem. I did not believe I had an alcohol problem. And so I was absolutely aware and knew that I was a drug addict, but I really didn't believe I was an alcoholic.
And how did you, at what point or what happened that you then knew, oh, I have to add alcoholism to that too?
Well, it started in treatment, and it doesn't necessarily, of course, have to start in treatment, but the concept is the same. And really, the main function of treatment is to break down denial. That really is its fundamental purpose. There are lots of other benefits and things that can happen for a person that goes into treatment, but breaking down denial is the most important thing. And of course, that's where it began for me in treatment, was that I was pretty belligerent with counselors at first that I didn't have a problem with alcohol. And but they kept chipping away at me with facts and evidence.
Well, okay, like what?
Well, for example, when you go into treatment, you're given tests. They do a lot of testing, both by verbal kinds of histories, and then you take various kinds of tests where you answer questions and so forth. So when I met with the counselor after I'd done all the testing, she said, your diagnosis is chronic late-stage alcoholism and drug addiction. And I cursed at her with a certain word and said that couldn't possibly be true, and then began to question my own answers that I had given. I'll give you just an easy, quick example. She said to me, well, you answered this question. You said that when you were in college, you drank to get drunk. And I said to her in response to that, well, didn't everyone?
Right.
And she looked at me and she smiled.
Yeah.
And she said, oh, really?
Yeah.
And at that moment, a very tiny little light bulb went off in my head. And that was maybe the beginning of the coming to the realization. Aware, yes. When I left treatment, I was not convinced I was an alcoholic at all. But I was what I think is the most important thing for any recovering person, and that is willingness.
Right.
And I was willing to do what I was told and attend meetings and do the things that were asked of me. And somewhere in that process, somewhere in the first 6 months, I became aware that, in fact, I was an alcoholic.
And that's something you did on your own free will?
Lord, no.
What was your motivation? What was motivating you, Hugh?
Well, I had I'm in retrospect, I'm lucky. Now, a lot of folks wouldn't necessarily think the circumstances were lucky, but I was indicted on two counts of serious felonies, and so I was on pretrial release and subject to random urinalysis. So that was a big motivator for me. Now, I wasn't going to use drugs, but that was a big motivator for me not to drink. And so by going to 12-step meetings and having a very strong group of people who were supporting me and challenging me, and doing what they asked, I woke up to the fact that I am in fact an alcoholic. I had a sponsor from one of the 12-step groups that would, every time I would talk about drugs, which I did a lot when I was early in recovery, he would remind me at the end of a discussion that alcohol was in fact my mother drug, and that's true.
Yeah,
it was my mother.
Hugh Grady is my guest today. He's a specialist in recovery. Bob Monster at the Cat in the Hat watching the chat. If you'd like to join us there, 1-855-244-0077. I remember my first meeting, and step one is to recognize that we are powerless over alcohol and our life had become unmanageable. And I first heard that and I went, yeah. That's why we drink. We drink to get drunk. We don't drink to sit. I mean, the fun doesn't start until we are powerless.
I think I agree with that. Yeah.
Would
that's
you?
True. But of course, it goes a lot deeper than that, and I know you know that too. That the reasons why people drink or use drugs vary for different people. But essentially, it's to change the way you feel.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason that may be. Which, of course, myself, and I think I'm accurate about this with almost everyone, no one knows what that even is.
Yeah.
I mean, we say in some of the literature, 12-step literature, that we're restless, irritable, and discontented.
Yeah.
And I think that fits all recovering people's stories and histories.
Well, I think it fits all people.
Well,
period.
Well, that now I've never thought of it to that extent. I'm not going to argue about that. I suppose the difference between us and those people that don't have an alcohol or drug problem is that they don't need that to deal with being restless, irritable, and discontent. They may use religion, they may use God, they may use exercise or meditation, lots of different things.
Yeah.
Or they may not use anything. They just know how to deal with it.
Right.
Whereas alcoholics and addicts don't like that feeling, don't want to be that way, and so want to change it.
When I first got into a 12-step program, I heard the term normies, or the normal ones. And those were the people that you just described that didn't have to use drug or alcohol in coping with life. And I'm not a person who's easily offended. I mean, I like other people's opinions, and if you're open to other people's opinions, I'd rather have the opinions that I disagree with than I agree with. That's what makes life interesting. So I'm not easily offended. But I was offended by that because, and I just talked about this Sunday at a meeting, in fact, we are the ones who chose to get better. We are the ones who stopped this downslide and said, I've got something wrong with me and it's serious and I'm going to fix it. Rather than bury it, change the color of our hair, buy a faster car, get a new boyfriend, whatever people who aren't alcoholics or addicts do. I don't know if it's fair to say that they're not normal, but we're very normal. In the sense that we're willing to look at ourselves in the mirror and go, man, am I messed up? And I got to fix it. And then I'm going to unpack myself to the point where I'm down to the last meat on the last rib bone to figure out my character defects.
I don't know where that term came from, normies. I don't agree with it or like it either. It's not a good word to describe people who don't have alcohol or drug problems. Who's normal?
Yeah.
What's normal?
Are you normal, Bob?
No, abnormal. But I know what you're saying because you were saying you go to cars, you go to sex or whatever that is, and that fills that void.
Yeah.
That you're using alcohol for or other drugs, because you're not inclined to go out and get fancy cars or whatever, or you've tried that and it didn't work, didn't fill that void. And I think I hear you. I agree with that. But so what's normal? When you look at someone and say, I look at that person, I think they're normal. What do you base that on?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why it's a bad term.
Well, and you mentioned God and religion. The fact of the matter is almost every recovery has some type of spirituality connected with it. It may not be organized religion, but as it's said in many 12-step programs, a higher power.
Absolutely. The fundamental underpinning, in my view, of all 12-step programs is spirituality. And that's what I believe attracts people who come to try to get help, because there are people who have issues with a particular religion or whatever, but when they can understand that this isn't about a religion, but it's about a spiritual part of your life, which is different from a religion. Religion has spirituality,
right?
But you can be spiritual without having a religion,
right?
And so that's, to me, the underpinning of the whole thing. I had issues with religion when I came into the program, and had been brought up and educated all of my life in by religious people.
Yeah, Irish Catholic, for heaven's sakes.
I'm Irish Catholic, and I went to every school I went to, including law school, was a Catholic institution.
Wow.
And I had lots of issues about that when I came to 12-step recovery. But one of the very earliest things I learned, which made it, I didn't have an issue once I learned this, was that this was a spiritual program and not a religious program.
Hugh Grady is my guest. He's a recovery specialist, as we have a Recovery Monday on every Monday on this, the first day of October in the Lord's year 2012. And if you're, that's if you're a Gentile. If you're not, it's year 5773. When we come back, let's talk about that spirituality for a minute. Let's talk about, because in the literature, in a lot of 12-step programs, there's chapters on the agnostic. There's chapters for those people that do not believe there is a greater power than themselves. And so how do you deal with an atheist? How do you deal with someone who won't reach out to the God you and I call Jesus Christ to get this type of help? We're coming back next, live on KTIA, Iowa.
Get tired of pretending that life is perfect? If what they see isn't how you feel, God knows, and He understands. Chat now with someone who cares at groundwire.net.
It's like they want to get hit.
Need a body shop?
Minor Wreck Express saves you time and money.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit, you're our hero!
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I've purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. And he said not only would he like to be a sponsor, but he would offer a $100 tithe for every customer that came and bought a car from him directly to the church of your choice. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
Welcome back. It's 22 minutes before the top of the hour, and for the very first time, I get to say, coming up next, Pastor Michael Mudloff and Chris Roloff with True Blue. Today is the very first showing of True Blue. Westkirk Presbyterian Pastor Michael Mudloff from 4 to 4:30 today. He will do some preaching, and then I believe the format is he and Chris then sit down and talk about and unpack the sermon and message he just gave. So that's today, the very first one, True Blue, following this very radio show on this very network, on this very station. I'm out of varies. First day of October in the Lord's year 2012. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and thanks for listening. I love this job. Couldn't do it without you. You know, I know you got a lot of things you can do at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Maybe you're listening or watching this on a podcast, so there's even more choices. But for some reason, you've chosen to listen to this. My prayer is always that God sent you here because he has a message for you. And that message is from him. And it comes through me or through Hugh or through Bob. It's not my message. It's not Hugh's message. It's not Bob's message. It's God's message. But we are his pigeons. We are his delivery system. We are asked to come alongside people to help them through life's most difficult things. And there's nothing more difficult for most people than finding out you're an addict or an alcoholic or you're abusing prescription drug medicine. Maybe you're none of those. Maybe you have an anger management issue. Maybe you have a lust issue. Maybe you have a porn problem. Any 12-step program features and centers itself around the same thing, and that is the spirituality that you must seek in finding something that's greater than yourselves. And in a lot of 12-step programs, it's talked about a power greater than ourselves. Now, I would choose to call mine Jesus Christ. Hugh, you come from a different place.
Well, mine today is God.
Okay. Not a Christian God?
No, it's the God from my youth,
okay,
which is a Christian God.
Okay.
I have a picture of God
today,
which is the picture I had as a youngster.
Okay.
But that wasn't what it was when I came into this program at all. And it's not an unusual thing for someone to come into recovery having had what they think or believe are poor or bad religious experiences when they were young, and I did as well. And so that when I got into my late teens and early 20s, I fell away from the Catholic Church. And was not a practicing Catholic at all. I would go to an occasional service if I had to, but that was pretty much it. And I didn't know it at the time. I discovered it after I got clean and sober, but I was angry at God. And why I was isn't even important. It's just that I was. And so when I arrived in recovery, I learned that I did not have to have a concept of God such as had been taught to me when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even have to have a concept at all of God. I didn't even have to have God. All I had to believe in was that there was something greater than myself. And this was not something that I came up with. This is what the founders of the original 12-step recovery program found to work for themselves. And so I was okay with that because the people who were my support system when I was early in sobriety and recovery, that group was my higher power.
A group of people
Was my higher power, and because I trusted them and believed in them, and they gave me the guidance that I needed to help me stay clean and stay sober through some pretty difficult circumstances.
Sure.
And but as I continued along and began to grow, I experimented with a lot of different kinds of forms of spirituality, which is not unusual for people in recovery. I tried some Native American things that I found pretty powerful and helpful, some forms of meditation that I found powerful and helpful. But one day, after I'd been a few years sober, for a reason that I don't understand today, I got really, really angry at God. And I voiced that to God in a unflattering way. And of course, what I had been taught when I was a child, that if I did that, I most likely would be struck by lightning.
Right, or something.
And I kind of was doing that, thinking, I wonder if I'm going to get struck by lightning. And of course, I was not. And nor would anybody ever be, I believe. But that event sort of cleansed me of all the anger and the feelings that I had about God. And from that point on, God became my higher power again. And though I'm not religious today at all, it still is the God that I understood from when I was a child and adolescent. And
you're not religious, but you're spiritual.
I believe that I have a spiritual program, yes.
Yeah.
And I pray.
Yeah.
And I do meditation. I do other forms of spiritual growth that I believe connect me to God as I understand it. And that's how we refer to it in 12-step recovery.
Yeah,
God as I understand him or her or it or whatever.
God of my understanding.
God of my understanding.
I remember the first time I heard that. And I heard it different than everybody else in the room had heard it. Have I ever shared this with you? Maybe
you may have. I don't remember, though.
When I heard a God of my understanding, what I heard was I need to understand God more.
Oh, okay.
Not how I perceived God. And the first time I was sitting in a meeting and somebody talked about their God as a group or as a whatever it was, I just sat back and I went, what? And I asked my sponsor, I said, what does God of my understanding mean? And he said, it means that any way you understand God, any way you want to create God, you go ahead and do that if that gives you a power greater than yourselves. And that was just flabbergasting to me, because here I had spent the first several months in this program trying to understand God better than I did, because I was convinced if I understood God and God's purpose for my life, I wouldn't have a desire to drink. And you know, whether you call that preconceived notions or fulfilling prophecies, that's what happened.
Yeah.
When I got so many months into this program and I had a much improved understanding of what God wanted for my life, I don't have an itch to drink ever. I mean, I don't remember the last time was I wanted to grab a bottle of gin and say, let's go party.
As you said, I think a little earlier, there are atheists in 12-step recovery programs, and who believe in a power greater than themselves. They may not be able to define it. I mean, I could, if I could draw, I could draw you a picture of what I think God looks like.
Sure. See that big thing in the clouds with the big white beard?
With the white beard and the flowing robes
Yeah.
and long hair and,
Sure.
and so forth. And that's how I viewed God as a child. That's how I see God now. But other people don't see that or believe that. But that's okay because they, even atheists who are in recovery, understand and do believe in something that's greater than them. For example, how could you argue that nature's not greater than you?
Right.
How could you not argue that a tornado or a hurricane is not greater than you are?
Yeah.
So if nature works, I've seen that with a lot of people where it's just nature.
Yeah.
You know, we could get into a lot of philosophical arguments that nature is God, but those
And I believe it is.
But those people don't need to believe that.
Yeah. I know one of the God has a sense of humor, and he belly laughs a lot when he surrounds myself with atheists, and he likes to do that. And the thing that I'm always the most amazed at is how they can't see something greater than themselves in nature. How they can't see God in everything that's out there. Hugh Grady is my guest today. We're coming back for the last segment. Phone lines are open at 1-855-244-0077. Chat is available at theviewfromapew.com. And don't forget, it's True Blue coming up today, 4:03 after the Salem Radio Network News. Pastor Michael Mudloff right here on 99.3 KTIA, Iowa. Thanks for listening. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
It's like they want to get hit.
Need a body shop?
Minor Wreck Express saves you time and money.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Come on now, let's reason together. The phone lines are open, and it's your voice we want to hear. So call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
3:50, 10 before the top. Salem Radio Network News at 4, and then at 4:03, it's the brand new, never before been heard on this network or any other, True Blue from Westkirk Presbyterian Church in Urbandale, Iowa. Pastor Michael Mudloff, and it's called True Blue, and you'll love it. Bob, you got something on the chat for us?
Yeah, question, and it was about spirituality and recovery. Why is having a higher power important for recovery?
You?
Well, I think it's important for a lot of reasons, but one has to do with ego reduction. And alcoholics have out of control egos and an absolute lack of humility. Alcoholics tend to believe that they can do anything they want in any way they want at any time that they want. And so in order for the original founder of one of the 12-step recovery programs to get it, he had to understand that he no longer could control that aspect of his life, that there had to be something different for him to be able to stay sober. And for him, it was as it was described to him by someone else, it was God. It was a higher power. And well, we could talk for a long time about it, but that, trying to boil it down to the essence, that's really what it is. It's to understand that you are no longer in control of of that aspect of your life.
Yeah, and I can only speak for myself, but for me, one of the words used in recovery is surrender. And for me, I had to surrender myself because I was in charge of my life. God was over here, and when I needed him, I'd call on him. He was there on Sunday morning. And I was a fortunate man that I never took his name in vain. I mean, I had enough respect for my relationship with God that I didn't GD this and JC this, and I just didn't talk that way. But I was large and in charge of my life. I was responsible for what was going on. I was the beacon of light in my own life.
Right, and you're spelling it out. I.
That's
I.
right.
Yeah.
And so it is a matter of pride. No. And self.
Yeah.
Yeah, my best as we like to say, my best thinking
got me here.
Got me into a prison.
Yeah.
That was my best thinking. Was that I could do what I was doing and A, get away with it, and B, have no consequences because of it.
See, when you said that we have no humility, and my life's an open book, but I had 2 DUIs within the matter of 5 or 6 years. So do you think that I woke up in jail and said, gee, I better quit drinking? No, I said I better quit drinking and driving. And so I was quite proud of myself that after that September day in 2002, I never drank any kind of alcohol. I don't mean I just had a couple and then went home. I meant I consumed no alcohol outside of my house if I was behind the wheel of the car. And I thought, Hugh, man, have I licked this thing. And 9 years later, I finally surrendered to the point where alcohol was such a horrible problem for me. But I spent 9 years thinking I had licked that problem.
That was your denial.
But understand that during that time...
No, I do.
Yeah, I guess you do.
Yeah, I do understand that.
Yeah, I mean, during that time, I remember once I went, a friend of mine challenged me to quit drinking, so I went 21 days.
Sure.
21 days. And you know how we celebrated?
By drinking.
By drinking.
Of course.
Went down to Mavericks and had martinis.
But it was a difficult 21 days, wasn't it?
No, well, I was so filled with pride and so into me that there was no way I was going to fail. And I wasn't going to go 30. In the beginning, I was going to go 21 days.
Like a Daniel fast.
Yeah. Could I have gone another day? I don't know.
Yeah,
white knuckling.
Recovering groups are full of people like that.
Yeah.
I can do it. People tend to think that alcoholics and addicts are weak-willed, and they're quite the opposite.
Yes, correct.
They're some of the strongest-willed people on the face of the earth.
Yep.
They just don't have any will with regard to alcohol or drugs.
Yeah.
So when someone makes a challenge like that to Mac, well, sure you're going to do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And every day it was, in the depths of the night, did I cry out to my God? No, I cried out to me, which was my God.
Sure.
Mac, you can do this. Mac, you listen. And I do whatever I needed to do at night, and then go to bed.
Yeah.
Because that's when I drank. I drank somewhere between 5 and 8 o'clock every night. Never took a drink in the morning. Never took a drink at noon. What do they call them? Nooners or cocktails at noon? Never. Why? Because why? Because when I drank, I did what? I got drunk. So why would I start at noon? I'd be drunk by 1:30, and then my whole day'd be screwed up.
Imagine you would have gotten there, because I like to say when I do a lot of speaking to groups, and I like to say that I never drank at noon until I drank at noon.
Yeah, I probably would have got there sooner or later.
So in a sense, you were thinking you were a smart drunk.
Oh, I had it licked. I wasn't an alcoholic.
Yeah, for me it was. Well, that's another proof positive I'm not an alcoholic.
Yeah, absolutely. I can control my drinking.
Now, I was also a heroin addict, but I was not an IV heroin addict, although I was getting pretty close towards the end. And I smoked it, and that was one of my ways of believing I didn't have a problem, because you see, I controlled this.
Yeah.
Hugh, could control this by just smoking it, and only junkies use heroin IV.
Now, remember something real simple. If you've been listening to this program and you've got somebody in the back of your head that Oh, you wish they'd get help. Oh, you wish they'd find what Mac has found or what Hugh has found or what Bob has found. You wish that would happen. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you as a mother, as a father, as a wife, as a husband, as a sibling, as a spouse, as a friend can do. All you can do is be there to support them. And when they hit either a low bottom, when something bad happens, or when finally they get up in the morning and they look in the mirror and they say, I can't run my life anymore. My life is unmanageable, and I'm powerless over this addiction. Then God will be there. He will sweep them up in his arms, and he will deliver them to somebody. Maybe it's me, maybe it's you, maybe it's somebody else, but he'll deliver them to somebody. But in the meantime, don't get frustrated. Don't look at yourself and think you're a bad person because you can't get somebody to quit drinking or using drugs. You can't. It's not about you. They think it's all about them. And when they're ready, God will come alongside them, and they'll get the help they need. Thanks, Hugh, for being here today. I appreciate it. Ryan, thanks for producing in the place of Father Tattoo. You don't have any tattoos, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, good. Bob, thank you for being here and watching the chat. And we'll see you tomorrow with Michael Mudloff. But you don't have to wait till tomorrow to see Michael Mudloff. He's next, right after the Salem Radio Network with True Blue, right here on 99.3 KTIA, Iowa.